Greetings, students, and welcome to Chapter Review for Chapter 2 of Michael Molloy's Experiencing the World's Religions, the 4th edition. And Chapter 2 is titled Indigenous Religions. A word about this. In the previous edition, which was until this one came out last year, this particular chapter was entitled Oral Religions. Otherwise, there is very little changed in the chapter, except that I noticed in going through and comparing the two editions that any place that the word oral religions had occurred in the 3rd edition, this Michael Molloy simply replaced it with the word indigenous in the 4th edition. I'm not sure it makes a whole lot of difference then. It's really a difference in nomenclature. Now, what does the difference in words mean? Perhaps not all that much. Indigenous is the Greek word for the Latin word native, and in both cases they simply mean religions that are something a part of a particular place and time and people where they were attached in that way. However, I sort of prefer the word oral religions because I think what holds these religions together, and all the ones that are studied in this chapter and others that I will mention, have to do with the fact that their traditions were passed on orally. They had no written tradition, or if they had writing of any sort, it was not at all related to their religious practices. And so I find that's a good term to use. And so anytime that you see on the test a word that has to do with oral religions and you're reading in Molloy here, think indigenous. Means the same thing, virtually no difference whatsoever. Now, in terms of what you need to know, certainly need to know who is involved, got involved with this business of volcanoes in Hawaii. That's an important one to know. And let's see, looking at the passages in the chapter, you need to know that what Navajo sand paintings are about. The material related to the academic study of religion and particular scholars, that's not something I think is important for an introductory course, so you will not be expected to know anything about that. On page 37 and 38, the section entitled Human Relationships with the Natural World, there are at least 2 questions pertaining to that. And also, of course, there's a section bottom of 39 on sacred space and sacred time. I already mentioned that in regard to studying for Chapter 1, but you will need to know material on that. The insert section, pages 42 and following, on the Pueblo religions, I think there are 3 questions pertaining to the Pueblo religion, and you will want to know that, and especially the religious practices involved there. There are a couple questions that pertain to life cycle ceremonies. That's mentioned here on page 47. Also, you want to see my lecture notes on that as well. On the section on the insert 48 to 49 on Dogon religion, it's a well-written piece, but I can only come up with 1 question on that, but it does count for 2 points. Then reference to taboo on 51, you need to know that. Then on pages 52 and following, we have the section on traditional Hawaiian religion, and actually the religion that's talked about here pretty much could be described as ancient religion from our perspective today. But there are 6 questions pertaining to this, so you will want to read that over rather carefully. Also, the section beginning on 56 with reference to a shaman. You will want to know about that. And I especially like the box at the top of 58 referring to Isaac Tens becomes a shaman. It's really a well-written piece on the experience of someone, religious experience of someone who becomes a shaman. And I've seen very similar stories written elsewhere in that same manner. Then, of course, you will want to know the terms at the back of the chapter and key terms. Not a whole lot of them will appear on the test, but they're not that many. But you will want to know them. Also, on the my lecture notes regarding Native North American religions, I think there are 2 questions on the Powhatans. You want to know that. 1 on the Cherokees. And then the Lakota Dakota Sioux, there are several questions related to that. You will especially want to make note of the names of their spirits or their gods. And that pretty much covers what will be included in the material on the test that is taken from Chapter 2 and other oral religions, and in particular I've highlighted those that are of Native North American origin. Good luck.